What's going on, family? How is everybody doing? How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody is doing wonderful. Please hit that like button for me. Please hit that like button for me. I would appreciate it. It is nighttime in America. Please hit that like button for me. Also, please hit the subscribe button if you have not already subscribed. I would appreciate it if you have not subscribed. Please subscribe to the channel. Hit that bell. If you want to donate, you can. DonateBrown.com, Patreon.com/YCarnell. You can do all of that. If you bought a green shirt, that shirt is coming. The whites are still on back order. Just FYI. So you should know, if you want to buy a shirt, go to adosmerch.com. I got an email from a couple of folks yesterday. I didn't get to it. I will get to that in the morning. So, hey, Yvette didn't respond to my email. I will get to it. I will absolutely get to it, family. I will get to it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Anyway, family, we have a lot to talk about. So let me get to it quick, because I was late. So listen, family, I want to kind of pause here, because I want us to understand that we are here. We're talking about category 4 hurricanes, where some of us live, and we have been here before. Okay? So we are not just talking about what is happening in Kenosha, Wisconsin right now. We are talking about catastrophes on many levels. I just want to slow down and make sure that we understand, that we all understand where we are. And I want to take a moment now to talk about something that people always say. I just happened to be tonight, looking at the Republican convention, or whatever the madness is they have going there. And we are all, y'all are sitting there watching me on the phone, or I'm looking at a laptop computer, and we are not in the fields, right? We are not on the plantation. We are not picking cotton and getting whipped. But I don't think that's enough of a barometer for progress. And what we have found, and what we have to understand, when you look at where we are, and when you look at what happened with this white supremacist at the protest, who got water from the police, right? When you understand that he opened fire after getting water from the protest, there were people on the ground at those protests who said that, allegedly, that the police had told him, the white boys with the guns, right? That the police told him that we're going to push the protesters towards you. Now, it's very interesting to me when I see, and I know this person who opened fire was somebody who wasn't no radicalized. This was somebody, allegedly, who had wanted to be police. He wanted to be Blue Lives Matter. He had some of that stuff, he had went through one of those courses, right? To where you the young people, and you're gonna be the police. Don't he just look at like an all American boy running around with a gun, running around shooting people at a protest, and then you have a situation where that sort of stuff is co-signed. Now, I don't like to discuss anything, family, without some type of context about it. It needs some context with it. So after this happens, all the time, what you hear after any kind of protest, because I was listening to Chris Webber earlier, former NBA player, and because I don't know who is former, who's still, I don't know. But he said something that was powerful in terms of the work that we do, because they're not having games because of these protests. And given that it's Wisconsin and it's protests in general, but we have something specific to say about this area, there shouldn't be any. I stand with them. There should not be any game. That city is not deserving of any kind of championship play or athleticism from black players. You got to say that. But the other thing we have to address is this myth of progress, because every time, like I say, I was watching the Republican stuff, and you hear Democrats say it too. You hear You hear you hear people who you hear Republicans say this is the greatest country in the world, and even with our blemishes, we've made a lot of progress. You hear immigrants say, my family came here to make progress. This is the greatest country in the world, and we've made progress. Well, what we have to kind of point to and push back against is the progress for us in this country, and push back against this idea of progress. Yes, we're all watching computers, we're not in the field, but that's not a good barometer of progress. You know how we haven't made enough progress or nearly any progress? You know how you can gauge that? Because the same things that have been happening are still happening. You don't have improvement, not substantial improvement, barely measurable improvement. You don't have that when you have people where the same stuff is still happening. And let's talk about, we're going to talk about Wisconsin for just 1 minute, because people need to understand the context of that place where this black man was shot in the back multiple times by police. How do you hold somebody's shirt while you shoot them, sir? I wouldn't do that to any kind of animal running wild. And you did it to a human who was in the back. So understand what this place is. And then after we understand what this place is, you have to be able to look at several little situations that have to do with ADOS and understand we have made very little progress. That's why the same things keep happening. That's why every day we wake up and it's the same thing over and over again. And you're not going to get there with no kind of reform. You only get there through transformation. That's the door you got to walk through. The door you got to walk through is a transformative door. Not some kind of we going to just defund the police. And we going to just do this one out. We just going to do this. So let's go through it. Because we had this, we have this and what he's tied to and the shooter and all of this madness. But it's not just him. You got a lot of wild alley cats who are allowed to be wild alley cats. Let me tell you, Hillary Clinton was right about somebody needing to be brought to heel. It's just not us. These people are wild and left to be out of control. But we cannot exist in a space where they're allowed to be wild and we get shot down for anything. You cannot survive in that. So you get to just be a wild alley cat. And go read the story about these two feral things right here. Go read. There was a great article. I put it in a newsletter. If somebody got the newsletter, you can tweet it out. Or if I think about it, I'll tweet it out. There was a great article about how they just been wild all their life. But understand, if a 12-year-old is outside with a toy gun, we're not allowed any of that. Shot on sight. Understand that if you are in Walmart with a play gun, somebody can call and lie on you. Because remember, the caller wasn't telling the truth, who called into the police, and get you shot on sight. Two different kinds of justice. Justice for them and justice for us. That does not work. You cannot have a life. You cannot thrive in a place where this is happening to you. It is impossible to live when there are not only two different sets of justice, right? See, when you have two different rules, one rule for them and one for, that's not justice at all. And when you have that 400 years into us being here, that lets us know we ain't making progress at all. You use these rules to tether us to the bottom. That's what you do. We have to understand a little something about Wisconsin. Anybody live there? Anybody live in Wisconsin? Wisconsin prisons incarcerate most black men in the U.S. That's what we're talking about. You have to give all these cities and places a context. People say, well, why they frustrated? Why they tearing up stuff? And this is the worst. But understand, every city you went to, we went the same way. What was it, Minneapolis? We do this every time. It's Groundhog Day every day in Black America. And you want to sit there and talk about progress. You have to start showing people this when they start showing up and wanting to talk to you about all the progress that has been made. You have to show people what it looks like. Right? Because this creates a level of frustration. In Wisconsin, poverty rates are higher for children of color. I hate this because it don't just say children of color. Call people what they are. These are, I wish that said ADOS and then said non-ADOS and whatever. But African American, Native American, Latinx, any race, Asian, white. This is how we live. This is the context. This is the context. You can't talk about a place and not talk about, remember what we said. We've always said, a place is only as good, or a plant is only as good as the soil is planted in. You can't plant us here and expect good outcomes. You can't have good outcomes where a police just feels fine with just grabbing you and shooting you multiple times from the back. But he's doing that because he's been doing that. And this city has decided, or this whole state, we ain't talking about, like, that we're worthless. And you can't reform worthlessness. When a country decides that you're worthlessness, you have to have meaningless transformation. Reform is not enough. Gaps aren't closing. Look again. Let me bring that up a little bit for African American. But I just want you to get the context of American Indian, Latinx. But look at it. Hold on. Let me bring it up. That's 2005 to 2018. Look at that. This is where we are. You have to understand where we are. Gaps aren't closing. As a matter of fact, they're widening, and we don't have anybody trying to close them, and everybody's saying vote for us anyway to get Trump out of there. This little white supremacist, it's a lot of them. You don't just vote. Y'all, white America, y'all put Trump in there and got us living like this and telling us it's our responsibility to get him out. What have you gotten me out of? What have you got my people out of? Always something got to show up for you and you don't show up for us. But let's just keep going. Let's just keep going, because there's a lot we got to, there's a lot we got to show. Let me bring this up. We talked about this before, but for those of you who weren't here, half of Wisconsin's black neighborhoods are jails. And what it doesn't say here is how many more of them are Section 8. I'm looking at the laptop right now. I see Wisconsin identifies officer who shot Jacob Blake. Finally. Took a long time. This is what lets you know they're warehousing us in prisons and Section 8. You know why, though? You know why? Because there was a whole Fair Housing Act and all of that stuff happened. And it wasn't enforced. You can't live in the world, just like you can't live in an America with two different sets of rules. You can't live in an America where they make a rule that says people can't do something to us, and then they get to keep doing it and nobody does anything about it. There's no enforcement. How do you live in a world where there's no enforcement of rules? We make laws and there's no enforcement of laws. You have to understand, family, that's part of the reason why we have to have reparations, because that's an elevation. Now, let me tell you something else. That's only the first part. Reparations is a down payment on justice. That's it. Don't think that's just the end. That is the beginning. It is a down payment on justice. That's what it is. And if America, you don't like it, I don't care. That's what it is. That is just your down payment. Because if you think you're going to heal us with one payment when it took 400 years to oppress us, you got another thing coming. All of this blood is on you. And you just can't pay it off. You got to do the work. This is a down payment on that work. That's it. You can't just pay off these. We don't even have neighborhoods there. You got jails. Jails in Section 8. That's what we've been cordoned off to. Because even in the New Deal, if y'all remember, we could not integrate. It was written into the, what was it? The something of 1954. We could segregate. Some neighborhoods had already integrated, but no, you ghettoized us. You ghettoized us and then imprisoned us. And you think you can just pay it off? No, this is just the beginning. Reparation is the beginning, not an ending. Please understand that. That's why I said the other day what I said in terms of you can't Gucci reparations, because that's the seed. It's not the fruit. If somebody brings you over a bunch of seeds and says, I know you hungry, plant these and eat. You can't just sit there and eat a bowl of seed. You go and plant those seeds, and you're very, very careful because you know you need them for harvest. You know you need your harvest, and your harvest has got to come in. So you go there and you say, I need my harvest. I'm going to make sure I do all this right. Because guess what? The harvest ain't just for you. The harvest is for your kids and their kids. We don't live just one generation. We live off the lives and the lives and the lives that come before us and the policies that came before us. We live off of all of that. Your life is not just your own. Get used to that. And I want to show you a little bit more about this jails as black neighborhoods. Ought to be ashamed of yourself from convict leasing to this. Now look at the picture, and I'm going to show you, look at all the little sections, K, J, H, G, F, E, D. In Madison, the Circle J area is the location of the city's largest jail. Every other circled area is Section 8 housing, save for 2 apartment complexes, D and G, and 2 homeless shelters, I and K. Read more. Oh, well, we've already read more before. Let's go to another one. Well, let me just go back to this one just in case you wanted to. No, let me make this one bigger so you can see. And it's the same. It's the same with all of them. It's the same. Right? So what this is telling you and what you have to understand. Let me bring this up because it's going to talk about this one. The large circled area of Milwaukee marked with an A is the lone black neighborhood in the state of Wisconsin that is not a prison or mostly low-income housing. That said, there are 2 areas within that large circle and 1 area adjacent to it that are correctional facilities. Another predominantly black area way at the southern tip of the city is also a jail. Also a jail. This is what we're living through. This is it. This is life. So when you think about Kenosha, you got to think about this. You got to think about all this in Wisconsin. And let me just say this. I've said this before, but let me say this one more time, family. You don't have outcomes like this unless they're planned. Now, I know the racists would love to say, no, it's just something wrong with y'all. No, we done did the math on that. Ain't nothing wrong with us. It's something wrong with you. And it's about time that you owned it. After the Confederacy, after the Civil War and all that stuff, nobody got the feral wild alley cats out of here. And so they still running wild. There's something wrong with somebody, but it's not us. You know who you are, you wild alley cats. You know who you are. You are just running out here with guns, doing all kind of wild stuff. And you people, and it's not just them. It's the people who condone it. Looking at you, Trump. Looking at all of y'all. Y'all condone this for years and years over Republican and Democratic administrations. You allowed this to happen. You encouraged it. The Democrats encouraged it to get more of the white vote. Right? We vote overwhelmingly for a party that encouraged this and allowed this sort of thing. This is what you do to your most loyal voters? That's interesting. And let me say something else. The way you know it hasn't been progress too is because it's not just housing. It's not just Wisconsin, it's everywhere. It's not just one thing. You can look at any area where we have been active, at any area of our life, and you can see this same outcome because it has always been intentional. If you wanted us to be full and whole Americans, you could have done that. You decided not to. That was an institutional decision. So listen, individual white people, don't come to me talking about, well, I'm not racist in my heart. I don't feel that way. I feel that is awful. If you're not doing anything to push for reparations and a transformational black agenda and to undo and push back against these racist institutions, you're part of the problem. I don't care about your heart or what you feel. I care about what you're doing. We have allowed people to talk about their feelings and how they feel. I don't feel this way. I don't feel racist. Yeah, you don't got to feel no kind of way as long as these institutions work on your behalf and your grandpappy and mammy is going to give you some money to pass down and you're going to be okay. I don't care about your feelings. That is such a dodge. And that's why I am so opposed to people like Emmanuel Acho, it should be called conversations with a rich black man who don't know what blackness is in America in terms of ADOSness. In terms of bottom castness. It's not about getting in a room and talking about how we feel. It's about what are we going to do to make this group whole? What are we going to do for transformational change? What are we going to do for our inheritance and lack of generational wealth? What are we going to do about our plunder? That's what it's about. I don't want to hear from you, Acho. I don't want to hear from Carlos Watson. I don't want to hear from none of these people. You either, Oprah. Because it's every area. Oprah butchered this movie. Y'all remember The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks? It happens in medicine too. Do y'all remember how it happened in medicine? How her cells were used for research and they were special and they were immortal. And she didn't get no money. Her family didn't get no money. She didn't provide no permission. Do y'all remember that? It's not just housing us and warehousing us in Section 8. It's all this stuff that y'all did. Now understand, this happened in like the 50s. Right? 1950s. This is not long ago. And you say, well, it kind of was. And that was just a one-off. No. No. You go to the 1950s. But before that, the bodies of slaves were used in experiments. You've done this for hundreds of years. What's wrong with you? What is wrong? And I'm talking to white American, the people who have accessed whiteness, the brown people who have accessed whiteness, who walk around spewing these talking points. We just talked about what you did and what you do in Wisconsin. Now we over here talking about what you did to slaves, the same thing you did to Henrietta Lacks. You're talking about hundreds of years apart and you're still doing the same thing to the same group. American medicine was built on the backs of slaves, and it still affects how doctors treat patients today. I can draw a line from slavery. I can draw a line from slavery to now. And that line will tell you everything you need to know about our condition and what has happened and is still happening to us. And that's not, because I can draw that line, that is not progress. That is the myth of American progress. And the myth of American progress on racial justice for ADOS is a lie. It's nothing but a lie. And what I need from all of my ADOS family and my tribe is for y'all to stop believing the lie. We got allies calling here telling y'all, yeah, it's a lie. We know it's a lie. How come we don't know? So let's just go into this because the article is about this fellow, the father of American gynecology or whatever madness. But let's just hear a bit about it. In 1894, the Journal of the American Medical Association announced that for the first time in American history, a public statue had been erected to the memory of a member of the American medical profession, J. Marion Sims, first unveiled in Bryant Park in New York. That monument bore an inscription celebrating a physician whose brilliant achievements carried the fame of American surgery throughout the civilized world. That's sort of offensive in and of itself. Anyway, indeed, Sims compiled path-breaking accomplishment designing the vaginal speculum, developing a treatment for vesicovaginal fistula, and building a successful medical career promoting VVF repair. He would serve as president of the American Medical Association and was dubbed the father of modern gynecology. In 1934, the statue of Sims was relocated to a new place of honor in Central Park. For more than 8 decades, it stood directly across from the New York Academy of Medicine, a potent symbol of Sims' stature in American medicine. The VVF treatment he developed, for example, came as a result of experiments he performed on black slaves. And those experiments were awful. Torture. Let's go a little bit about him. You say he's a doctor, right? We believe the best of white folk. So let's go a little bit about him. Born in Lancaster County, South Carolina in 1813, James Marion Sims entered the medical profession when doctors didn't undergo the same rigorous casework and training they do today. After interning with the doctor and taking a 3-month course and studying for a year at Jefferson Medical College, Sims began his practice in Lancaster. He later relocated to Montgomery, Alabama, after seeking a fresh start after the death of his first 2 patients. It was in Montgomery that Sims built his reputation among rich white plantation owners by treating their human property. According to Vanessa Gamble, University professor of medical humanities at George Washington University, Sims' practice was deeply rooted in the slave trade. Sims built an 8-person hospital in the heart of the trading district in Montgomery. While most healthcare took place on plantations, some stubborn cases were brought to physicians like Sims, who patched up enslaved workers so they could produce and reproduce for their masters again. Otherwise, they were useless to their owners. Today, we know 3 of the names of the female fistula patients from Sims' own records: Lucy, Anarcha, and Betsy. The first one he operated on was 18-year-old Lucy, who had given birth a few months prior and hadn't been able to control her bladder. During the procedure, patients were completely naked and asked to perch on their knees and bend forward onto their elbows so their heads rested on their hands. Lucy endured an hour-long surgery, screaming and crying out in pain as nearly a dozen other doctors watched. As Sims later wrote, Lucy's agony was extreme. She became extremely ill. She lived through it, but she became extremely ill, and that was torture. No, we don't even have the words for what else she probably went through. For a long time, Sims' fistula surgeries were not successful. After 30 operations, 30! On one woman, a 17-year-old enslaved woman named Anarcha, who had very traumatic labor and delivery, he finally perfected his method after 4 years of experimentation. Afterward, he began to practice on white women using anesthesia, which was new to the medical field at the time. It was just y'all wasn't going to do that to them. It wasn't that new. You just wasn't going to do it to them. You would do it to us, you just wasn't going to do it to them. While some doctors didn't trust anesthesia, Sims' decision to not use it or any other numbing technique on black women was based on his misguided belief that black people didn't experience pain like white people did. Right? Now, she was crying out in pain, but your belief is that black people don't experience the same pain as white people. Isn't that something? She's crying out. You said she experienced, what was it, agony or something? But we don't experience the same pain. Isn't that something? Well, let me show you how we haven't made progress. This is still here today. Black patients half as likely to receive pain medication as white patients, studies say. You still think black people can't experience pain. That's not progress. That's not progress. Now listen, We can't jump inside of white people and those who have accessed whiteness and believe the same stereotypical racist stuff. We can't do that. What we can do, though, is hold you accountable for what you don't know and how you behave, and push politically for what we want, because this is not progress. This points to something that is the opposite of progress. For us to still get treated this way. And let me tell you something. It's not just medicine. Medicine is just one thing we just talked about, right? But it's not the only thing. That's the thing. So, y'all remember the teaching scandal? The Atlanta teaching scandal, all that stuff, right? People went to jail and stuff. People lost their lives. One woman died of cancer. All kind of stuff happened. Y'all remember that? Well, you can't live where these people get a couple months, pay a fine. Actress Laughlin sentenced to 2 months in prison for college admission scandal. They were paying off, bribing, hoarding all the opportunity. You want all the opportunity. Your kid is a little dummy, but I want all the opportunity. I'm just gonna set them up and get their scores changed. I'm gonna do all of that stuff, and I'm just gonna and when I get caught, nothing bad's gonna happen to me. I'm just gonna get a couple months. I'm not gonna get nothing bad, really bad happening to me. We have warehoused black people, especially black men. Overwhelmingly black men in prisons, but white women do crime too. Where's the prison? Where's the jail? I mean, a real jail. Because y'all destroyed this woman's life. Ohio mom Kelly Williams Bowler jail for sending kids to better school district. And understand, she put her kids somewhere where like her daddy actually lived at the time. She was excited. They had a greenhouse. Her daughter getting bullied at this school. She said, my kids is never going to have a future here. So I'm going to get help from my dad. They're going to be there half the time anyway. This school hired a private detective to follow her around. Then said they wanted her to pay $30,000 in back school fees, and then you end up locked up, right? You end up in handcuffs. I think she got the governor commuted it from felonies to misdemeanors. But you broke this woman. No, but you're not gonna break these white women, is you? They get to walk out of court and just be happy as little larks. Felicity Huffman sentenced to 2 weeks in prison and $30,000 fine for college scandal. I don't understand. This is why. This shows you this isn't progress. You have one black woman, and these two things are not the same. The black woman is trying to give herself or give her kids an opportunity. These white women are trying to hoard all the opportunity. These two things are not the same. One of these things is detrimental to any chance of meritocracy. These women should be given at least 10 years in jail. Lock them up. Lock her up. No, but you want to get somebody who is saying you created America. You created this ghetto that this woman was in, that she was trying to get her kids opportunity. You created a ghetto and then put her in jail for trying to get out of it. And these women get 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever for trying to hoard all the opportunities. You raise horrible, worthless children who don't want to work. They don't want to do anything because you are their parents. And even with that, you are going to say that I'm going to buy you an education. So I'm going to take a slot. Understand what these awful people are doing. What they're basically saying is we're going to take a slot from somebody who worked hard to get this education and work hard to be here. We're just going to take that because we have the money and the wealth, and we're going to take it. We're going to steal somebody else's opportunity. We're going to steal somebody else's chance to get out of poverty. We're going to steal somebody else's chance because even if they weren't in poverty, they just worked really hard. Your kids didn't work hard. Which one of these women had the little worthless child who was on Instagram doing nothing? I don't care. See, this is the myth of America. The myth of America is that there is a meritocracy. No, the real America is you can buy whatever you want and whatever you need if you got the money. And the real America, we don't have the money because we're a plundered group. So we don't have the money because of what was stolen from us. But the people who do have the money will buy anything and make any purchase to make sure that their kids are set. No matter how stupid them little children are. And no matter how lazy they are, I'm going to just go buy it. Because I got the money to buy it. That's what I'm going to do. And we don't even know how long this has been going. I bet you it's been going on forever. And please don't tell me, people, oh, I would do it if I had the money. You don't. First of all, that's awful to do. Second of all, the one thing that you don't ever want to do is operate from a space where I would do it if. That's not how you live life. You live life from where you are. You live life from, you don't live life from some kind of imaginary place, right? You don't live life from, well, if I was rich, I would. If I had the monies, I would. I tell you, if I had that, I would. I don't know, Yvette. If I had the dough, I would. You don't. You don't. You don't. And so you don't get to say what if. You operate, your advocacy be from where you are and where your tribe is. That's your advocacy. Not some kind of, this is not playtime anymore. Everybody got to let playtime go. Let me bring up something real quick. Everybody got to let playtime go. I don't know what else to tell anybody. You got to let playtime go. Playtime should have been gone. Well, if I was rich, stop right there. When you say if, just stop right there. Because that's not real life. What you're telling me when you say that is that you're not dealing in real life. It just is what it is. You're not dealing in real life. Well, if I had the monies, if I had the money. Now listen, Yvette, if I had the monies, I would do X, Y, and Z just like them. If I had it. You don't. Everybody's on the way to millionaire land. If I had it, I tell you what I would do. It's like kids who tell you, I want to be a firefighter. It's a lot of grown kids running around. There's a lot of grown kids running around. Now I want to ask you this. I'm going to put this up real quick because I have a question. I don't know if we all realize. Hold on. I don't know if we all realize that Laughlin was facing 20 years, right? That's what she was facing. It was 20 years. Now, I have a question. I'm trying to figure out something. Maybe you can help me. Because when we talk about how unfair this is, I want you to help me out. When you're facing this kind of time, how do you go from this to this? Right? So how do you go from facing that? That's what you was facing. How does that work? How do you go from anybody in here ever been charging anything and went from facing 20 years to 2 months? Anybody? I'm anybody. How do you go from that? How do you go from that down to that? She was supposed to get real jail time. She was supposed to get her life ruined. But we live in a country where you're only willing to ruin Adolph's life. You don't care that they can we're not going to put this nice white rich lady in jail. She did everything wrong and the FBI got it all. But we're not finna do that now. We're not finna do it. How do you go from one to the other? How? One said facing 20 years. The other said she got 2 months. If we did that, somebody would say somebody paid off somebody or something happened. What happened? Well, I think we know what happened. I think we understand what happened. We understand that this is America is what happened. And we have made no progress for us. And we live under a different set of rules in a different America. And that cannot work. It will not work. I don't care how much you try to make it work. America created this segregated America. So whether you look at housing, whether you look at education, whether you look at jail time, everything is telling us that we don't have progress. Right? We were supposed to have integration. Even when we had Brown v. Board, even when we had that, when we talk about the schools, right? What happened was you just purged black teachers. And Brown v. Board wasn't to say we want to demand. We just said, it was saying separate but equal ain't equal. And I should be able to go to whatever school I want to go. Now they said we're just gonna get rid of all your teachers. We still see them getting rid of teachers and everywhere. Chicago, all these places been firing teachers. And we don't know what's gonna happen with COVID. Same thing with housing. Housing is not integrated. Look at this. Look at the black people are the blue. Look at the blue. You see the blue? The blue is black people. Now look at where that is. Just look at it. Look at the blue. You see Atlanta right down there. Look at all these places. Ain't no integration. Look at Maryland again. Black people in the blue. All together. All together. Can't be what we want to be. Can't be in the America we want to be in. And it's the same thing everywhere. Whether you go to Chicago, DC, still segregation is largely segregated with us. Places where we have to rent, which is expensive, can't afford to own, in a country that we built. That's not progress. That's not progress. And the best thing that happened with Trump is that he really shows us that this is the white thinking, right? I am happy to inform all of the people living their suburban lifestyle dream that you will no longer be bothered or financially hurt by having low income housing built in your neighborhood. And this is what we are. Now, what I want to say about that is, as we go to break, fam, let me just say this. Let me see if I can find that image. Because it's time to pivot. We know there's not being no progress, and it's time to pivot to what we know. So I like what Chris Webber said in terms of we are doing the work, not just for ourselves, but for generations and generations to come after us. That's great. He said the right thing. He's right. I agree with him. The next thing that you have to say after you say that is this. You have to say, and everybody has to understand, and kudos to him because he's right. Once you say that, you have to say the work of generations, 4 generations that came before me, and 4 generations that will come after me. The real work of this moment is reparations. Because we have to put ourselves in a space of wealth where we are elevated above this. You ever see how police act in a wealthy community? They act like they work for you, not the other way around. And we have to be able to plant seeds and grow fruit that we can live off of and that other generations can live off of, right? That has to happen. And so we have to pivot people or help people pivot from just saying we have to do something about this to helping them understand what that something looks like and why that something is necessary. We're never going to get to where we need to be by just reforming. That is accommodationist, and it does not work. We have to have the seed, and we have to have government open up for us to have the land back that we bought. Now, it's not up for me to figure out. I'll help the government figure it out, but it's not up for me to be like, well, how's that going to happen? That can't happen. I don't know. You figure it out. You did it. Racist institutions did this and collaborated with racist Americans to do this. You owe this. And we have to have a conversation about how to make that happen. But this is the down payment for justice in America. This is it. And this is what we are. And we all have to understand it. That this myth of American progress is a lie. And the minute you stop eating that lie, you become enraged because you know that you got to stop eating the lie because our community has been eating the failure. You want to put some garbage up, environmentalism. I didn't even put that in there. You can just we'll put all the stuff that causes cancer. Just put it in ADOS communities. Just throw it over there. No, this is a moment of reckoning. And one thing that I like that he said, if not now during COVID, when? If not now, when? This is the moment of transformation. This is the moment of transformation. And I'm praying for everybody as this hurricane barrels in. And please get out of there if you can. I know we don't always have the resources to do it. But yes, another Katrina in the midst of a pandemic. Like listen, we got to do something. And we got to put, this is why I have no problem. Right? People say, aren't you, Democrats going to be mad that you said that they should vote down ballot. We're not playing with y'all no more. That's what this is all about. Ain't no progress, no real progress. Yes, we've survived, but we've survived out of our own effort. That's not enough, given our contribution, and we're dying. No, it's not enough. And we all have to. Now that NBA players are waking up, NFL players are waking up. Now that you see a lot of people, you see the WNBA waking up. Now that you see all these different groups and athletes waking up, it's time for you all to understand what you wake up to. It's not just defund the police. It's not some leftist garbage. 8 for 8 or whatever that dumb stuff was. We're talking real transformation. And that's reparations with a black agenda. That is the down payment for a future. For us to have a future in America. And don't tell me, well, athletes don't need reparations. They don't need to give it to their family. They still got family that's poor. You ain't got to tell me. I already know. Right? So give me a couple minutes, fam, to set up the phones. We'll have a conversation about it. And I want to hear what you got to say. We are back, and we are going straight to the phones. Family, try to keep it as concise. I don't say short, I say concise, because I don't want you to necessarily cut yourself off, but I want you to try to keep it concise because other people want to call in and have a word. So don't be the dude from last week who was like, "But what if?" I'm telling you. Just try to get your point, and let's talk about it, and we can have a conversation if necessary. But let's just be respectful of other people who are calling in. I'm going to 651. 651. What is your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Good evening, Yvette. This is Antasara calling from St. Paul, Minnesota.
Oh, what's going on?
Oh, man, I'm a long-time listener, and I'm going to keep it really brief and really short. I can appreciate the stance that the athletes are taking right now. I think that's a big deal on a whole bunch of different levels, but at the same time, I'm really worried about it being boiled down to one specific change in a sea of changes that need to happen. But I congratulate them for taking the stance, but I don't think that we should be taking our eye off of the black agenda or reparations.
Absolutely. I agree. And now,
and then
go ahead.
Go ahead, Yvette.
No, I said
I just wanted to also say that my feelings are really raw about what's happening in Wisconsin, and the thing that really gets me with every single time we have one of these incidents is that we get somebody pushed up in front of the camera that wants to boil this down to an individual incident, and they just keep happening over and over and over again. And so I'm just wondering how we change the narrative from it being one police station or one police department, to looking at this more as a United States type of issue versus local. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I think we have to do that, right? Because part of the problem that happened here too is people. I hate that we've gotten into this space where, like, we should not want Messiah leadership, right? Somebody who just helicopters in, but somebody has to give voice to this, right? And there has to be, whether even if you're talking about somebody in that city or that area, right, that gives voice. Because if you don't, and they have to get a right voice, because this is not just about one city. We whether we talk about Breonna Taylor, whether we talk about George Floyd, whether we talk about Blake, and it's just not even 1 year. We see this year after year after year, day after day after day, right? And so I think somebody has to give voice to the fact that this, and this is what we try to do at ADOS. It's bigger than just some kind of reform. It's bigger than we're going to defund the police. No, it's everything that has happened to us in this country. The culmination of plunder, no multi-generational wealth, multi-generational oppression. It's all of that has to be dealt with. That is America's reckoning. And that's what needs to be given voice to.
All right, Yvette. Like I said, I appreciate you taking my call, and I love what you do. Shout out to everybody on the chat right now, and to Tone wherever he is. And y'all be well and weather that storm.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Woo, it's a lot. I am going now to my next caller. I am going to 313. 313, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, this is Virgil Phillips from Detroit. I met you a few years ago in Atlanta.
Okay.
It was at the All Black National Convention, and you was my favorite person on the panel. I was like blown away by your speech that day. There was a lot of people there, but I know Chris Webber personally, because I'm from Detroit, and I do a lot with the young black males in Detroit. So when you pulled up Chris in his statement today, I was really proud of him for speaking out against this. But you and Tone right on point. Until we get reparations, I don't see this stuff working. I'm in my 60s, man, and I ain't saw us move one iota since I've been an adult. And I've been out here grinding. I mean, I'm a community person. And until they do right by us, I don't see our young people changing, because they're in this state of mind where nothing benefits them. So they're not going to really listen to this rhetoric that's going on. Until you make significant changes in their lives, they're not going to flow with the government. You always say this: we must get our reparations from government. If it don't come from government, I don't think the athletes can save us, because I know a lot of them guys, and I'm proud of them. But Steve Smith, who's from Detroit, he do a lot in the neighborhood, but it hasn't transformed our neighborhood one iota. We got to get help from the government. You keep pushing that agenda, and I'm with you, ADOS, all the way. Thank you.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I appreciate that. Yeah. And the thing is, like, what you're saying is a lot of young people give up. But they're giving up because they haven't seen success, right? In the sense of, like, it's not even like they see, like, they're seeing, like, oh, this really matters. This really amounts to something. Like, when X does this, now they're seeing it, like, sometimes young people are more aware than older people. Whether it's like Gen X like me, or like a boomer, or a silent Gen. Sometimes they're just more aware, and they say, you know what? I see the gig. I see what it is. I see the gig is up. So what you want me to do? I see ain't nothing happening. I see ain't hardly nobody working for nothing to happen. Everybody's happy with what they got during a period that was built off of MLK. But I don't see nothing here for me. And so they see that, and they don't see motivation. And then you can't come in and try to motivate them based off something that was available during your time. Right? Don't work that way. So anyway, timing always matters. I'm going to 614. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. My name's Dawn. I'm calling from Columbus.
Hey, Dawn.
Ohio.
Hey. What's going on? What's on your mind?
First of all, I want to thank you for everything that you do for our community. You are an amazing thought leader. I've learned so much from you over the years, and I can't express to you enough how much I appreciate that. I just want to talk about the generational gap that we are experiencing. You touched on it just a minute ago when you were just talking about it. And just kind of piggyback to the man that called in yesterday. It was a man, he was kind of yelling at you. And
yeah, I
thought he was passionate, and the comment section thought this man was crazy and, you know, being apathetic around voting. And I feel that there is a shift because the political system is failing. We are on the verge of revolution, and I think this is the caller. He couldn't express it because he was so hurt. But our movement needs leadership, and I would really like to ask you to reevaluate where you are with your platform nationally, because I feel that this generation is different than us as Generation Xers. They're not having this shit. Like, whether you're
language, ma'am. The children watch language.
Like, these people have curly haired mixed grandkids, and this generation is not having it. And I feel we're on the verge of revolution, and I feel that they don't want to vote. They want to burn this system down.
But he was too old for that. That's not. But he was. But he was too old for that.
The media.
Hello,
really
are you there?
Riots,
am I?
And
am I not working on her phone? She can't hear nothing I'm saying. I
mean, I feel that there is a rage against housing, medical, crime, education, family stability, and jobs. Where the last one higher. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Okay, no. I was saying he was too old for that. Like, if the dude who called in had been a young guy, I would have talked to him, but I would understand where he was coming from because of what he's going through, his age. Yeah, he was old.
I feel you, but I just feel that energy is electric right now, and there's a revolution going on, and we can't control it. Like, and I feel that with the plans that you have and the plans that Tone has, we need it because they're going to burn this system down. It's too ugly to get fixed in some people's eyes. You know what I mean? It's too racist. It runs too deep. And they don't feel that there's any hope in fixing it. And I feel that these protests are still going on. The media is just not showing.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true.
Riot in Wisconsin.
That's true.
I feel that there are pockets of eruption all over the United States.
That's true. That's true. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it, and I agree. I agree that there are pockets of eruption. The media just move. The media just decides to move on when it wants to move on. It don't care. The media decide I'm not gonna be here and I'm gonna keep it moving. But I agree that there are pockets of eruption. I agree that you have this level of discontent and disconnection with young people who don't see a future. And we haven't really given them the leadership to kind of give them hope in the future, because we haven't been willing to kind of sacrifice ourselves for them. And they know that and they see that. And we can change that though. And my hope is that ADOS is changing that, because we have to do something. And we have to do something meaningful. We tried this, just gonna do a little bit here, a little bit there. That don't work. So I'm going to my next call. I am going to 267. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hi, Yvette. This is Princess Six. How you doing?
What's going on, Princess? What you up to?
Getting my libations.
Uh-oh.
Hey, Yvette. I just wanna speak to ADOS right now, and I've been running into issues on Facebook with family friends. I've had to unfriend people. I had to block people. And tonight I had a friend who I had posted something about Joe Biden, and this friend from elementary school is like, what am I supposed to do? Who am I supposed to vote for? Because now I don't want to vote for him either. And I explained voting down ballot, and he was like, that's what we doing. So I say all that to say that, number one, do not get frustrated. Keep your same talking points. Keep asking questions. Keep pounding people over the head, because, number two, there are people who are watching who are never going to speak up. And number three, there are people who aren't paying attention. But come October, everyone's going to be looking to the people who talk politics day in, day out to ask them what I should do. And we'll have a long enough history of just hitting them with the facts and the data that we will become the people that will say, okay, I'm not going to listen to this person who's only been talking about entertainers and rap and sports. I'm going to listen to the person that I know is talking about politics and always talks about politics. So that's the first thing. The second thing, real quickly, what is black folks going to do now that the athletes are revolting? Because if the athletes are revolting, how can you sit on the sideline and just go and just give your vote up to the Democrats because they are not Trump?
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Well, I got that too. If the rich people are voting, what you doing?
Yeah.
Come on now. These are people with money. Yeah. LeBron said he's sick of this.
Yeah, I know. And that's the thing. It's like, what do you have to... I was a friend of mine, we were going back and forth, and she said that she hasn't recovered since the downturn in 2007. But she's a never Trumper. And it's just like, okay, I'm going to have to just spend time with you. A lot of people are not going to get it immediately, but I will spend some time with you pointing out the fact that you, of all people, should be looking for something instead of just giving your vote because we got to get Trump out of office. So just keep hitting that. You know, I like to hit the point. Well, what is they giving your family on day one? Because they said they're giving doctor this on day one. They're giving LGBTQ this on day one. They're giving these folks this on day one. What are they promising you and your family on day one? And if they're not promising you anything, then I think you need to reevaluate your stance of we got to get Trump out of office.
Yep, because it ain't about what we got to get.
You can get Trump out of office and you can demand policy. It's not either or.
Yes, both of them.
You can do both.
Yes, both of them. It's not either or. It's both of them. Get Trump out of office and get something from the group that you vote for. Like, because it's not just about getting somebody out of there. It's about getting something in there, too. It's about getting some policy in there that you want.
Yep. So, Yvette, when we going to get the next book club?
You know what? I'm torn because I want to kind of recommend the book I recommended, even though I have a suspicion it ain't going to be nothing. But I kind of, on the other hand, want to still recommend it because I feel like we should get accustomed to reading books that we may not like, just so we can eviscerate them and know how to eviscerate them good and become really like good book critics. So that's what I was going. That's what I was kind of going back and forth on. But I'll make a decision.
Yeah, well, just FYI, I think I got both of those books you're thinking about, but I think I'm more like driven towards reading The Half Has Never Been Told.
Yeah, but that's a big one. Like, that's a heavy lift. To me, The Half Has Never Been Told may be a winter book. Because, I don't know, because you would think because it's COVID, people going to be in the house anyway, but I see a lot of y'all outside. I drive. I see y'all outside, living life like ain't nothing going on in restaurants outside.
We need something to read during cuffing season.
Yeah, you need something to read. There you go. There you go. You lay there, you find somebody and lay close.
All right, Yvette. I'll get off this line. You take care.
You too. All right, fam.
Bye.
Bye. Yeah, I think that was kind of my thing. Like, you know, if it's already, see, I don't like to read like really thick books during the summertime. Because the summertime, I don't care where y'all be, you gotta be somewhere. You know, I'm in the ADOS area, you always somewhere, driving by with your little music bumping. You don't want to be nowhere reading. You just gotta be a busybody. So in the wintertime, you know how we get cold and the air hit us wrong. And it hit the wrong bone and the wrong ankle and the wrong joint. Ooh, it made my bones, so I had to come in the house. Come in the house and read. It's more easy for me to, because The Half Has Never Been Told. That's something. So we'll think about that. We'll think about that one as the fall and winter come, when y'all be drinking like hot tea and cocoa. Anyway, here we go to the next call. I'm going to 609. 609, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. How you doing? Najee calling out of New Jersey. How you doing?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
I'm good. So, I'm not sure if you was aware of, because you was talking about hypocrisy. So I'm not as sure if you're aware of what happened with Hot 97.
What happened? I'm not aware.
Well, with the Yusef Hawkins killing of 89, that racially charged killing, the teen that was, I'm not sure if it was a teen or a young adult in his 20s, but he was killed in Brooklyn by a group of suspected racist, ethnic white Italians. And so now that this documentary came out, for 25 years, one of the men involved in that racially charged murder has been working at Hot 97 for 25 years. And they just fired him after that documentary came out. So that's aligned with the hypocrisy that you're talking about.
What was his role at Hot 97? Do you know?
You said Hot 97? That's in New York City?
Yes, and what was his role? You said they just fired him. What was he there? He wasn't an on-air personality. Was he worked there in some other capacity?
No, he was behind the scenes.
Okay.
He worked, well, his name was Patty Duke. He worked with Angela Martinez, and I mean, just the hypocrisy of that. You know, here it is. Hot 97 is very influential, and Rock the Vote and Vote or Die, and a lot of racially charged incidents that happen in the black community. But you have this man who was involved in one of New York City's most racialized killings. I mean, one that even propelled Al Sharpton to prominence, because I think this was during the time where Al Sharpton was stabbed during the march of Yusef Hawkins. And Hot 97, hired a man who, he wasn't convicted of murder, but he was convicted of some association with that murder. And he was able to benefit off of what some will arguably say, which I hate when they coin this term, black culture. But this
culture
man
vulture. He was culture vulturing. Yeah, he was culture vulturing. Somebody who's been involved in a death of a murder of a black person. He was culture vulturing. That's awful. That is awful.
Culture vulturing.
And I know they knew. I said I know they knew. There's no way they didn't know.
They had to know, but that just speaks to the hypocrisy. Now, here it is, Adolf's with, that's been herded into prison. And, when you fill out a job application, they're going as far back in time as your juvenile record. But here it is, this man was in this high-profile murder, and he was able to have a job for 25 years. I'm pretty sure there was some real purpose, and I'm pretty sure they had to give him some kind of parachute out the door for working for this corporation for 25 years. Wow. It's just insane. And if I could just close with this, it's just very interesting when I'm talking to some of my family members, and they're really pressing the, where I'm talking, ADOS talking points, and they want to vote Democrat, but they have these very strange conservative views of black people. And have you ever noticed that? Like,
I have.
I said, and I said, you know what? It's kind of crazy. I'm talking about transformative government, and you're kind of associating with me with somehow siding with the Republicans, and I never say that.
No.
But some of y'all views are very in line with the Republican Party and the current president that's in office, with this the generalizations of welfare and, you know, black people need to do better. And I close with this. I say, you're saying black people need to do better, but you're talking to somebody black that gets up every day, goes to work, not committing crime, you know, trying my best to start a trucking business.
Absolutely.
So you're talking to a black person who is trying to do better. It's just very weird when I had these conversations.
Well,
with my family.
because what they really are kind of spouting is like right-wing talking points about how the problem is with us. The problem isn't with systemic racism and institutional injustice. That the problem is us. Well, if you really believe that, then you are a Republican. Don't call me a Republican. Don't call me a Trumper. If you really believe that, then you should be voting. You should be the main one down there voting for Trump. Like, if you really believe that stuff, because what you're spewing is racist. The idea that this is and we did this to ourselves and we are our own problem, that's a racist line. And if you believe in that racist line, you should be right. You should be lining up to vote for all the conservatives. And the thing is, you'll come back from that and then say, but I don't want Trump to get back in there and I'm just going to vote. I don't think these people even understand who they are politically. They just say anything. They hold like these really conservative beliefs and then get mad if you say, well, I just want to hold. I want to hold like I don't want Trump in there. So you got to hold him off. But I want the Democrats, who we give most of our votes to, we want to hold them accountable to a black agenda. And you say, well, you don't really need, if you don't think we really need a black agenda and we're lazy, then I don't even understand what you're talking about. Why you're not conservative. It don't make no sense.
It don't, but that's the argument in my household, but I'm still putting up the good fight.
All right, fam. Don't get tired or weary or weak. Because they will make you all of them. They will make you all of them things. Ooh, family will make you so tired. So crazy. But anyway, fam, let me go to the next caller really quick. I am going to go to 951. I'm coming to you, 951. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yvette, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing?
Look, sis, this is Lawrence. I'm from California, but I'm in Texas. Much love to you, you and Tone. And I'm going to say some real stuff right now. I've been literally fighting and putting people up on game about why we need reparations, why, we deserve reparations for over 15 years.
Mm.
The thing is, when I came across you and Tone, and this was on the fluke. This was a few years ago, some years back on the fluke.
Okay.
Just because, I was trying to see who had my mindset out there, right? And first, I came across Tone, and I came across you.
Okay.
And I just got to say that I've been fighting for 15 years, and I don't care what anybody say. When it comes to ADOS, you guys have given so many facts, so much information, so much data, so much stats. You dig what I'm saying? That it is impossible to go against any of that. That's one. Okay? So I got to give you guys much love. I got to give you shots out because you guys brought the discussion to a whole different arena. You feel what I'm saying?
Thank you.
No matter who was talking about it, no matter who was, promoting it, it was brought to a whole different arena when you guys stepped in. Now, the second thing I wanted to say was, I've been talking to a lot of people about this election, as I do every year. I mean, I was one of the people who said I wasn't voting for Hillary, and I didn't. I was one of the people after Obama, the second term, I wasn't voting for him after the first term, I didn't vote for him the second time. Because I have so much faith in him, and for him not to do nothing when we were responsible for putting him in and keeping him in when everybody else was trying to vote him out. If you look at the same stats you guys put out, you look at that, you see how many people was trying to vote him out of there. Latinos, Asians, Black folks said, you know what? He's black. We're going to ride with you.
Yeah, he's sticking.
Let's give him that
He's
opportunity.
sticking. Yep.
You dig? So we did that. We gave him that opportunity. And for this man to be running around with his wife, disrespecting us by spewing all this rhetoric, it's just unruly. I can't even put it into words how upset it makes me. So I just wanted to call and say much love to you guys.
Much love, man.
You know, keep doing what you're doing. I'm going to keep calling up. We're going to keep this conversation going. And please, I don't care what you guys got to do, get the convention going, because we got to take care of this before the election pop off. Much love to you, sir.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I appreciate all your input. Yeah, I appreciate it. Because I think, you know what happened with Obama and what happens in black politics in general is that I think there has always been like this really silent, I wouldn't say a majority, but really strong minority of people who always knew like this was a bad gig and the gig was this was awful. And what happened was that there wasn't really a space, or there wasn't really a movement to like grab the people who like felt like something is off, this don't feel right. And now it's here. And so yeah, before the election, I think something, you know, this is it's a wild time to be alive, fam. Anyway, let me go to the next caller. Really quickly. 424, I'm coming to you. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
What's up, Yvette?
Not too much. What's going on with you?
It's Sia Jr. Calling from Los Angeles.
Okay.
Basically, just want to give you your props. I mean, you're doing a great job as a general of ADOS. You're doing your thing. I respect. But one thing I just want to say is to the family, do not get complacent. Come November, I believe ADOS is going to be targeted number one, or enemy number one. I just have a feeling that once Joe Biden loses the election, we're going to be enemy number one.
You think he's going to lose?
Oh, yeah, no doubt. Trump is going to get it again.
Ooh.
But we just got to be ready for the backlash. It's going to be a serious backlash, I feel. And that's basically what I just want to say. Stay vigilant, keep up the data, and keep up the fight, and keep that same energy. Peace.
Appreciate it, fam. You know, somebody told me months ago, like right after, like before we were even talking about, we've always been talking about running mate ever since Joe Biden won South Carolina. Somebody reached out to me before I even thought Kamala was going to be VP, because I was like, why would he make her VP? Like, you know, what did she pull? She didn't even pull the black vote. Somebody reached out to me and said, Yvette, you know, I'm in DC and it's going to be Kamala. I'm just going to let you know that. And it's going to be Kamala, and like they coming for ADOS. Like, this just what it is. Like, you should just be ready because they coming for everything. And so, like, ever since I heard that, I've been kind of like, okay, because this is from a DC insider. This isn't from somebody, you know, who's just like, no, this was somebody like, no, it's going to be Kamala. Everybody in this realm where I work at is saying it's going to be Kamala. And like, they going to try to neutralize ADOS. Now, so I do, and I didn't think about what he was saying, though. I was thinking about during the campaign. I didn't think about what happens if they don't come to us with the reparations agenda and a transformative black agenda, if we get blamed for it and they come for us after the fact. I didn't think about that. That's a very interesting way to think about it. Going to my next call, I am going to 352. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette.
What's going on?
Charlie Jacobs, Wildwood, Florida. Thank you very much.
Hey, what's going on with you? How's Florida?
Yeah, I'm one of those boomers that you and Tone talk about, and I got to tell you, this is I've become a YouTube university student during this COVID period. I told my granddaughter that I waited 64 years to find out who I really am.
Oh, that's wonderful, though.
An American descendant of slavery.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
I just want to give you guys your props, and I just want to let you know that I've been a lifelong Democrat. I even worked at the polls, and just today, they are concerned about me not voting for Joe Biden and Kamala. So I just want to know. I heard the previous caller say they're gunning for ADOS, and my take on this whole YouTube experience during COVID is that they're just collecting data. This is a social experiment for them to gather information. And I watched this guy, Wadamaya, over in Africa. He interviewed a former Ghana president, and that guy said the United States was built by immigrants. And I wrote Wadamaya and said, how in the world could he say the United States was built by immigrants? Doesn't he know the difference between a slave and an immigrant? And within 10 minutes, I was attacked. So you guys keep doing the work.
But listen, thank you, fam. But like somebody, I appreciate it, fam. Thank you so much. You know what's funny about that though? Like it's funny, like, you know, somebody brought this up on Twitter too. I think I retweeted it. It's funny when Ben Carson says we're all immigrants or we're a country of immigrants. Everybody attacks him. Oh, he doesn't understand. We're not immigrants. And we were slaves. But the minute somebody else who's not a Republican or whatever says it or not on, it's like, oh well, yeah, they right. We was just no, like this even the people who came over here. The people who came over here and took over and took it from the Indians and Native Americans or whatever, like, it's not even that they're immigrants in the same way that other people are immigrants either. But we weren't that. We were not people who voluntarily said, hey, let's hit this new land. You know, no, we were people who were kidnapped from people who, you know, were other black people and then brought to these little caves where the white people came and picked us up. So that's not an immigrant. That's a slave. So, you know, but it makes it so much better when we just flatten it out and just say everybody's slave. We just flatten it out and do it that way. Now, can we do it that way and just hush about it? And we don't push back enough. Like, we're not a loud enough group anymore. And when we're loud about all the right stuff. We can be loud about a whole bunch of stuff that don't matter. Anyway, going to my next call. I am going to 919. 919, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Yes, thank you, Yvette. Thank you for taking my call. My name is Vanessa in North Carolina.
Okay.
And I'm calling just to focus on the ticket, Biden and Kamala.
Okay.
I think the fear for a lot of Democrats is not necessarily this election concerning ADOS. It's the longest that the ADOS is going to have on our community. So when you have ADOS that's moving in our community is educating, especially the generation below 45, age 45 or 40. And they're changing the way they're thinking. So the Democrats is not going to save you. They're not the messiah of the people. They're not going to give you jobs and feed you and give you clothing, because the COVID revealed that, didn't it? It revealed the separation, regardless if you have a Republican in the office or you have a Democrat in the office. And that's the biggest fear for the Democrats, that ADOS is going to make our community like the Latino community. They vote for their interests. And that's the biggest fear, because I even sense that, you know, with me and my family, you know, all my family members are pretty much voting for Kamala because she has darker skin. Because, of course, you have darker skin. You have to be for the people. So she has darker skin and Biden. And so me, who said, no, I'm not, you know, I'm able to silence at the dinner table. It was like, wow, what are you? I had one of my family members say, I'm going to pray for you. So it was one of those things that got serious very quickly. It got serious very quickly. And now that I'm educating some of my nieces and nephews who's like growing up, and I'm kind of putting seeds in their head, you know, their parents are like, you know, don't poison my kids. What you telling them? I'm trying to tell them because someone has a D behind their name or R behind your name, does not mean they're for you. And we have to start with this concept of people of color. Listen, if they don't say ADOS, they're not talking about us. Okay? The policy is not going to benefit us. We have to be selfish. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong to advocate for your own community.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with being independent. Like to the extent that you're talking to them, you're telling them to be independent and vote according to an agenda that's good for them in their community. That's not poisoning a kid. Like, in what world is telling a kid, listen, you have to put you and your group as the primary concern when you vote? How is that poisoning the kid?
Exactly, and that's what I even had, and I'm going to get off the line because I want to hear other people speak on this issue. But let me say this real quick. I was talking to one of my white colleagues, and we was having a talk about race and things of that nature. And she said, "Well, how can?" She was a Bernie supporter, and she said, "Well, how can we get black people more involved?" And then finally, had to tell her, I said, no offense. We're not, our job, my community job is not to get my people involved to vote for your people. My responsibility is to see what you're going to give me. And if I like what you're going to give my community, then you get my vote. If I don't like it, you will not get my vote.
There you go.
We have to be selfish.
Yeah. That's
what I said.
Because that's the only way we survive, and it's what everybody else already does. Every other community already does what we're trying to do, but nobody wants to let us do it. They want us to be the mule. We're always the mule. Well, you get us what we need. Can you go and get us some water? Can you go? No, I'm not your mule. I'm not carrying your baggage. I'm carrying the baggage of our group. Your baggage don't fit on my back. It fit on your back. Put the bags on your back and carry yourself somewhere. We're not carrying you know what else.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I just want to thank you. I'm going to get off the line, but I just want to thank you because you opened up my eyes. I was one of those, I'm a reform boot scrapper. I was the one that said, you just got to go to college and work hard. So I'm reformed. I went through the AA meeting of YouTube when I met.
That's all right. That's all right. That's all right.
So I want to thank you for reforming me.
Appreciate it. Thank you, fam. That's all right. We was all wrong at one point, including yours truly. I voted for Obama the first time. We was all wrong throughout the years and all this. Oh yes, the same. And we was all, most of us. Some of us. I talked to some people, and I think Antonio's one of those people who kind of got it real early. And throughout life, I was one of the people. I caught it, but didn't catch it immediately. That ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with being reformed. Ain't nothing wrong with that. All right, fam. I am going to 810-810. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, what's going on?
Not
I'm
too
calling
much.
from Eddie Austin. Great. Thanks for taking my call.
No problem. What's going on with you?
Well, not much, Yvette. So, piggybacking on the other caller and many calls that have come through, you know what I mean? Talking about us as black people being the mules. Mm-hmm. And when I'm, as I look at, Kamala Harris, in the dynamic duo of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, I think about us being the mule in the sense that here it is, we have a Indian, Jamaican candidate that's now, on this ticket. But when you think about the mule part, she would have never even been able to be, considered as a candidate for the vice presidency if she was not born in the United States of America. And where I'm trying to go with that is that this is the mule part. Mm-hmm. Birthright citizenship. There's only a few countries in the world, because I looked it up, and I want to say it was basically less than 30. That allow birthright citizenship. But the fact that she was, she claims that she's from Oakland. that's the silly part. That she claims that she's from Oakland. But nonetheless, she was born there. Yeah. And the fact that both, and this came up with Trump, and some other conservative right-wingers saying that, hey, both of her parents were not naturalized citizens.
You know, but it doesn't even matter
No.
that they're not naturalized citizens. The fact that she was born in the United States makes it that she's a citizen of the United States, and that comes through us because after slavery, you know what I mean, the birthright citizenship was meant for black ADOS people to claim. You know, that was, you know, to deal with all the laws that were, you know, back in the day that said, you know, don't matter if you were free or emancipated, if you had a great-grandmother or something of that nature, you know what I mean, you're still a slave. So to deal with that, 13, 14, 15, you know what I mean, I can't remember exactly which amendment deals with birthright citizenship, but one of those three that I just mentioned deals with that. That was through us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? That was through us to give, you know what I mean, the birthright citizenship, you know, to say that if you're born here, then you are a citizen. And then all these other immigrants now, you know, with the whole, what's that, you know, what's they call it, you have a baby born here, and then you know you're able to,
I know what you mean.
You know, stay here and so on and so forth because you have a baby born here.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's on the back of ADOS.
Mm-hmm.
That was meant initially for our ancestors and for our people to say, you know, if you're born in the United States, you are an American citizen. That was for ADOS, and then that's only for that fact that she was born in the United States, that she can now be, you know, appointed to on this ticket to be able to ascend, you know, possibly to be the president if Joe Biden deceases during that, you know, during that term. So I just give it off of that, talking about being the mules of the party. So many people can't, you know, come on the back of us, and I give it, and I end up with that.
Thank you, fam.
Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. And what he's kind of talking about too is, you know, you can't even have a conversation about this, because you just get censored and called xenophobic, and it's just wild. Is the number of countries that don't have birthright citizenship? It's just it's not as normalized a thing as like they try to make it into this country. And I think I did a show about it a long time ago. You can go look at. But the thing is, to me, he's right. Everything that comes to anybody brown in this country comes through ADOS, all of it. And like, we don't get any credit for like the path that we blazed that allow for that. But the other thing that kind of just is always curious to me is that Kamala, you know, now her Wikipedia says, I think her mother left America at 12 when she was 12. And so she was in an affluent high school or an affluent community and went to a what looks like a mostly a kind of diverse high school, but not like a black high school. It was an affluent community that she lived in. So I don't even like I kind of don't. I'm tired of this story of her mother as a civil rights leader. People who believe in civil rights and fighting against racism in America don't leave and go to Canada. Your mother was none of those things from what I can see. So stop talking to me about how she was a civil rights leader. You know, people have to own their own stories, right? Our story is coming from slavery as the institution and actual slaves through sharecroppers and everything, and how we got mixed up and mixed into all of it. We come from slaves and slave masters. I've said that as well. That is our lineage, our legacy in the country that we built and have been oppressed in. Your lineage and legacy, Kamala, is coming from affluent immigrants. And you have to own that. And I'm not telling you that there's something wrong with that. That you have to own your lineage. You stop trying to try ours on because it don't fit. It don't fit. It's going to make you itch. It's not right. So you have to own your own thing. So, you know, it's just all very interesting in terms of what he said. But we did pave the way for everybody to be where they are now. And like, but they get here and still decide that like, I'm going to use ADOS as a doormat, but then I want to, I'm going to see them as a bottom caste too, because of the caste system in my country. Or I'm going to see them as a bottom caste because white supremacists will not, or the white society or whatever you want to call it, will not elevate them, will not elevate me without seeing them that way. And that's the game you play. And we know that game now. I'm going to my next caller. I'm going to 773. 773, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette, John from Chicago.
What's going on, John?
Taking my call. Long time no speak to.
What's up with you? How you doing?
I'm well, thank you. I was just thinking about the topic tonight, and the most difficult problem I'm having is I try to explain ADOS to, because I'm 58, I'm a boomer, and most of my friends are boomers. And of course, I try to inform them about ADOS and, everything that's going on and what we're talking about voting Democrat down ballot. Mm-hmm. And what I'm running into is a lot of people, because some of my friends are older than me, and I try to explain to them how steep they are in their parents' politics. They refuse to see anything differently from what they've learned over the years about just, hey, I'm a Democrat, my mom was a Democrat, my grandma was a Democrat, and this is how I'm going to vote. And no matter how much you try to explain to them what's going on, what I'm running into is, you're okay. You got your pension. You are a couple of years from getting full Social Security. You are fine. And everything that you mentioned to me, as I speak to people that I know, associates and friends, is I, me, mine. There is no we, us, and ours type of politics that they can associate themselves with because they're okay. And the problem is they act as if they don't see the tsunami coming that's going to happen to their children and their grandchildren. And I point out to them is your problem is you falling for the con. You believe that you're okay because capitalism is great at making you feel like you're American. Ooh. You can get credit, and you have credit. You can buy a car, you can buy a house, you can order things off of Amazon, and you can go to the grocery store and buy a grocery with that credit card of yours, and you think that you're okay. Mm. And I'm telling you that you're not. And everything is starting to be exposed due to what's happening with this coronavirus, this COVID-19. And even in the face of all of that, they still refuse to hear Democrat down ballot. I mean, I'm with the guy who called earlier. As soon as the pick was made, I say he literally just handed the presidency to Donald Trump. Mm. And the reason is you pointed it out in Monday's show about, hey, Biden is leading in every metric. He's up by 11 points in every metric in every way except in what? You can say it, Yvette.
The economy.
You got that right. But Trump is up by 10, 11 points concerning the economy. And when you tell them that no people, white women, they vote in their best interest. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I can't hold that against any group that does that. However, when it's my people that are my age that grew up with me and know me, and we know each other, it's just disappointing and heartbreaking, the selfishness of this older group of people. Mm. I mean, these are the ones that, I'm buying a Harley. I'm not thinking about my children. They say they love them, and they say they're concerned about them. But the actual fact is that they don't care. Ooh. And I would just close by saying it was the political apathy of my parents that caused the drugs that most of the people from my era ended up getting on. It was our political apathy who didn't scream and holler when they came with these draconian drug laws. And because we refused to say anything, we didn't scream at the top of our lungs when they made school unaffordable. And we just sat back, and now we are off of that cliff. We're free falling. We are free falling. And no one wants to hear it. You know why? Why? Because they're comfortable. They're comfortable. It's something about
the crab in the not. I don't want to say the crab in the barrel. I hate that analogy, but it's the one that's in the pot on the stove that's boiling. None of them really try to get out until the fire gets turned up, and guess what? The fire is like high now. And they fool you by giving you link or food stamps because you can go to the store and you can shop and you get to feel American.
Well, and people don't understand. People don't understand that credit is not wealth. So credit will get you something delivered to your house, but credit is not wealth. And then you have this, fam. Let's just call this out. I've said this before. The mamas and daddies and granddaddies and grandmama who say, well, whatever I have, I'm going to spend it because I can't take it with me. Right? That's also a problem because the whole American life is built on you living during a time where you amass some wealth and you have something to pass down. If you're telling your kid, I'm going to spend it because you only get YOLO, you only get one life and I can't take it with me, you're really telling your child, I don't care what happens to you after I'm dead. I don't care. Get it how you live. That's what you're telling your kid. And I think people have to understand that and not be violent or not have that manifest in any kind of way that's going to get you in trouble or give you a heart attack. But you have to kind of understand what that means when it's said to you.
I agree. Now say one other thing.
Sure, say one other thing, Sam.
You mentioned something in that program that you did on Odell Beckham.
I did a program on
What you
Odell?
said is, on Odell Beckham, the football player, when he got the big contract.
I barely remember. Go on, Phil. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I understand. What you said is, you cannot have children in this world and not be willing to put, I'm paraphrasing it, everything into them. And we become a group of people that's just, hey, we gonna put everything, I'm gonna put everything in me. And pull yourself up by your bootstraps, kid. But in the words of Martin Luther King, it's a real cruel gesture to ask a bootless man to pull himself up by his bootstraps.
Absolutely.
Love you, Yvette.
Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. I think I do remember that. Ain't that the man who had his hair Clorox? Not Clorox. Lord have mercy. He had dyed hair at some point. That was the one, the football player who was dancing around the locker room. Ooh, it's been so many shows, fam. So many shows. He was dancing around. Ooh, they just be acting a fool. He had peroxided his hair. I remember, I think. Oh, we've been at this for a minute, fam. We've been at these shows for a minute to the point that I'm forgetting when, where, what was it, when it was. I'm going to my last caller. I'm going to 516. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's on your mind?
Hey, Yvette. This is Stacy from Freeport, New York. How are you?
Pretty good. How are you?
Great. Working for the census. Oh, man. It's very interesting out here in these streets. Very interesting.
I can imagine.
But piggybacking on some of the callers, they're just great tonight. I just pray for me that I don't go into the voting booth and do the same dumb thing I just did last time around.
Don't do it.
Which was stand there for about 5 minutes and then vote for Hillary Clinton. I'm not doing it. I'm not voting for you, Jim Crow Joe and Cop Mala. I'm not doing it. No, it's Democrat down ballot. But just so many things. I just felt we were so abused by the DNC and the convention. The foundation of this country is settlers and slaves, and yes, the land that was taken from the indigenous, but the people who built this country are settlers and slaves. Everybody else got to come here. They just continue to ignore us. The DNC made a concerted effort to ignore us. And I agree with one of the callers who said, well, when Trump is president again, they're going to be coming for us. I don't know how we win, except that we keep fighting.
Yeah. I know how you lose. I know how you lose. I know how you lose. People say, I don't know how we win. I know how you lose. If you drop your hands, you're going to lose. So I think if you have to keep fighting. You keep your hands up, you keep fighting. That's the only thing that you can do. That's the only thing that we can do. Right?
Right. And I think the DNC has to say, you know what, white women, you better vote for us. Tell the DNC to tell white women to vote, okay? Because they're the reason that Trump won, along with the handful of Asians and Latinos. But my final point, and this goes back also to the 14th Amendment that the other caller was talking about with birthright citizenship that has totally been bastardized. There's another YouTuber, she's very good, and she pointed out something, and I had to go back and print it because I couldn't believe it. I'd like everyone to look at the U.S. Department of State. They have defining anti-Semitism. They actually have a working definition about anti-Semitism that protects all areas, even to the point of the state. We need to work on defining anti-ADOS. There's a lot of anti-ADOS, but they have a document, and I went out and I went to www.state.gov/defining anti-Semitism. It's a few pages, and it's a working definition, and I said, wow, it's all about what's written, it's all about language, and it points out everything and defines it so well. I'd like to see something like that protecting us in this country.
Absolutely, absolutely. Absolutely. Especially considering who we are, what we've built, and how long we've been here. I mean, it just doesn't, like, so much of what happens to us and what we are kind of forced to live through and deal with, and the failure that we are forced to eat. Just I mean, it makes sense in the sense of, like, if you're just trying to like have a bottom cast to eat the failure, but not if we are going to be real people and have real adult human lives in this country.
And one more thing about the election, I'd like people to pay attention to this. I don't know if you remember, in 2008, right before the election, gasoline prices went through the roof. And that really turned people. And that meant that there was a signal that they wanted a change, that those who really run things wanted a change. Someone who's an economist told me to pay attention to this. I believe if the prices remain level, they're going to, jack up afterwards. But if these things continue, what the guy said about the economy, it is the economy. White people are really not feeling the pain right now. And there won't be a signal. The signal to change the administration will be felt at the pump. And if you see prices remaining the way they're remaining, there's not going to be a change in the administration.
Thank you, fam. Thank you, fam. I appreciate it. I appreciate it. Well, we're going to see. I'm interested to see what y'all think is going to be the October surprise, or if Democrats think they need one, or do Trump have one? Will there be October surprises this year? The world wants to know. Anyway, fam, that is it for the show today. We are almost at the 2-hour mark, so we are going to leave it at there, family. If you didn't get through, apologies. Fam, so please finish your libation. Hit the like button if you have not hit the like button. As always, if you want to, you can go to donatebrown.com, Cash App, $breakingbrown. You can do that. Patreon.com/YCarnell. But you can always help this channel by making sure that you are getting that bell, that bell is clicked, that you have subscribed to the channel, and that you have hit that like button. Cost you no money doing coronavirus, and that's a good thing to have a no money's way. No money is to help the channel and to help us grow. So I appreciate that, fam. Everybody be easy breezy until next show. And I'm just very interested, because America's, I said a long time ago, it's going to be a long and hot summer. And the summer is not over. And it seems to me, I could be wrong, but it seems to me that a lot of people are waking up to this kind of injustice that we have been living with. And I'm talking about us when I say wake up too. I'm not just talking about the white people that we see at the protest. I'm talking about us too. And it will be very interesting to me how we are able to get them to pivot in the directions of reparation, a transformative black agenda, because we've heard people kind of say like that would mean you have more money than us. Well, we're talking about what's fair, and that's fair. So let's do it. So anyway, fam, I will see you all and talk to you all later. Please be easy breezy. Until next time, fam, take care of yourself and wear your mask. I see you.